Hi, Misha here, and last time, well, a few last times ago, we tried this out during the eclipse. This is, of course, the Israeli IWI caramel chocolate, and we gave our thoughts. I mean, it's a gun, it's fine. There's no major criticisms, but there's also nothing about it that really just stood out to us as that's new or different or economical. It is what it is. But we did shoot it. Alright, first shots out of the caramel. It worked.
It works.
When I got it in, this also came, and I'm very late to the party. But today we're going to talk about IWI's Tavor if you prefer, 7. What is it? TSB-7. Very nice, direct, simple name. And obviously very much in the family of the original Tavor-21, SAR, X95. But whereas those, of course, are in 5.56 NATO, also 300 blackout 9mm, this bad boy is in 7.62 NATO. Even though it has the same kind of removable, changeable barrel, I don't believe they've done any other calibers, although there's talk about different barrel lengths, but we'll get into that. And I'm going to explain why, planned on taking this to the range and just decided not to. But first, if you could, as always, like, share, subscribe, help out on Patreon if you can. If not, that's all good too. And also check out the new AK dedicated channel if you're into AKs and have AK questions. With that, let's dive into this guy. Alright, like I said, 7.62 NATO, 308, and of course, like most guns today, feeds from SR-25 style mags. Comes with a 20 rounder though, pretty standard mag pull. And of course, we are entering an era of standardization on mags, and while it's not as exciting, kind of boring to have everything taking the same mag, logistically it is so much better, also economically. Of course, the caramel chocolate here takes standard Stanag AR-15, M4, what have you mags. Just, So that's pretty much the deal. Rotating bolt, short stroke gas piston system, metal top rail. We do have a removable rail cover down here to expose additional pick rail. And we have them lock slots on the side. Comes with a cold hammer forged chrome line barrel, 1 in 12 twist. It has the same muzzle brake style as on the caramel. And the standard barrel length is essentially 18 inches. It's like 17.8, whatever. But I do believe there are 16.5-inch barrels, as well as talk at least of a 20-incher. But as it stands right here, this thing is a little under 29 inches. So quite compact for a 308. And bullpups aren't really there for lightweight, but it's 9 pounds, which is frankly about as light as you really want a 308 type gun. Maybe 8 would be nice, but either way, it's not exceedingly heavy, that's for sure. But it is relatively compact. So far so good, right? So why do I not want to shoot this? Let's try that again.
Beautimus.
Bullpups, just by their very nature of having a linkage from here to back here, aren't going to have fantastic triggers. Now, this is much better than the original I think every other standard 308 I have has a better trigger. Of course, you can put aftermarket trigger packs in, but there are two problems with that. One, they usually cost $200 to $500, and that's on top of a gun that's the better part of $2,000 anyway. Do you really want to do that? Maybe. Also, if you lighten that trigger up, you will have reliability failures. We experienced this with the old K&M M17. Jay tried one of those and really wanted to get it, and that was probably the first bullpup I ever fired that had a nice trigger. It was also finicky as hell on the ammo. Not just steel case, but brass. Just, it needed really light primers and just the right, basically match ammo only. And yeah, we experienced the same with the Tavor-21. I don't like the trigger pack that the original IWI came with, but when I tried putting aftermarkets in, I noticed the reliability went down, especially again with steel case. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, just shoot brass. Guys, sometimes, especially in the times we've lived through, you shoot what you get, or what you can afford. And sometimes that's just steel. I'm going to be honest. Especially if you shoot a lot, go to the range, and you're not a reloader, which I'm not. Again, the trigger is fine. But I wouldn't exactly call it a match trigger. And we don't have any adjustments back here. I don't know. I completely understand the use of a 5.56 bullpup, like I said. And you know I like my X95, and I even like my original Tavor. It's kind of a love-hate a little bit, but hey, it's a nice gun. The good old traditional Tavor. Still shoots. So Fox's very first shots out of the X95. Very nice. This is my opinion, totally subjective. Keep in mind my limitations too when it comes to shooting. But I find a 308 7.62 NATO bullpup almost an oxymoron. Let me explain. In my head, again, could be very wrong, and you probably have a different opinion. That's cool. We're just discussing. We're hanging. But a bullpup is for CQB work, close in, maneuverability, being as slim as we can do. So 5.56, 300 blackout, even 9mm, although it's a little bulky for 9mm if I'm being honest. Those make sense. 7.62 NATO is a reach out and touch someone cartridge. And in my mind, if you're going to do that, if you're trying to shoot for accuracy, if you're trying to have stability, you're better off with a more conventional pattern gun like the Carmel. You get more real estate. You can easily put a longer barrel on, although I'm happy that the Tavor-7 does have an 18. That's kind of optimal, at least minimum for a 308. But you can also have more of adjustment, length, cheek riser on the stock. And you always have a better trigger on a standard gun. That's one thing we've complimented about this from the get-go. Nice trigger. So one thing we haven't really talked about, trigger.
Oh, trigger's great.
But I hate to say, why do you need a 308 bullpup? That's kind of being asinine, and you don't get any reason why. But I'm thinking more from a logistical, military, police point of view. Maybe there are a few situations, but typically, if you need something this compact for close quarters, something like 5.56, especially an actual NATO loading, will be plenty. If not, maybe 300 blackout. I don't know. Just kind of an incomplete thought in my head, so apologies for that, but I just don't know. And we have tried out another 308 bullpup in the past. That would be the Keltec.
Keltec RFB.
I'm
very
super
first
excited
shots.
about it. It shot.
Alright, RFB, let's try it again.
I would say the bolt held open, but there's nobody to check. Here's the thing, though, and I'm probably just being a wuss, but having 308, especially NATO spec 7.62, go off this close to your face is hella disorienting and physically hits you in the face. These types of guns tend to be pretty gassy, and that's if you don't have a suppressor on them. If you put a suppressor on here, more blowback. I know it's safe. I trust them to not make a gun unsafe, but good grief, if you had any kind of ruptured case, I don't know. Again, I know in my head it's safe, but my heart still worries. And J-Ro and I were talking off camera, and he said, he could see a point to this in urban combat. CQB getting in, needing something to punch through barriers like drywall, maybe body armor too. But I can tell you this too, outdoors, this thing is loud. Indoors, I can't even. You would almost need a suppressor, frankly, which gets you over 30 inches easily, in 35, 36 with most. Yeah, I can understand why there might be a specific scenario where this could be useful. I just wonder how often that realistically comes around. Plus, keep in mind, ammo. 20 round mags. The mags are pretty light, but the ammo, you can carry a lot more 5.56 or 9mm if you have some, versus 308. Again, I'm not saying 308 doesn't have a purpose. I absolutely do. I just feel like a traditional rifle, and all current rifles have folding stocks, so you can get in and out of vehicles, and they're very quick to deploy a modern folding stock. I just feel like the benefits of this in 308, if this were in 308, I know it's 223, outweigh the benefits of this. But again, I'm being very subjective, I know that. So let's go back to some objective things and features and controls on this before we wrap up, because I want to be fair, and your mileage may vary. And if you just want something unique and cool, absolutely, I give this points. This is not just another AR-10 type gun. There are not very many Bullpup 308s out there. So if you just want it for that cool factor, I own an FS2000, so not judging. But yeah, let's go back into controls real quick before we wrap it up. So the barrel we already talked about. One thing I do like, 4-way gas regulator. I'm a big fan of adjustable gas. The FAL might have taken it a little overboard, but that was kind of the sign of the times. 7.62x51 was a standard, but every nation kind of made their own, so that it needed to be adjustable. These days, there's a little more conformity, uniformity, but still, you're going to want a gun that can run ammo from different nations. So you basically have, standard, adverse, suppressor. Of course, we have a top rail I mentioned. One thing that is disappointing, and it's ironic that I'm going to point this out, but there you go. No flip-up iron sights. The Tavor and X95 not only had actually quite nice flip-up sights, they had low light, nighttime, tritium vials in them, so they were night sights. This doesn't have it, and I noticed when we reviewed the Carmel, it doesn't have any types of sights either. It's just rail. That's unfortunate, because it's so easy just to put a low pro sight in the rail, tuck it in there, it doesn't do anything. Of course, we have standard sling swivel pockets. It always struck me that they're very close together on a lot of Tavors. Of course, you can always put a... I was just feeling to see if there's another one up here. Don't think so. You could always put an M-lock, but then you are holding it with plastic, not metal. If you use these, you're very close together. I know a lot of people like to do single point. I would not want a 29-inch, 9 pounds unloaded single point gun. Your mileage may vary. But I do like QD swivels. They're practical. The controls are an interesting... Well, the layout is very reminiscent of the original Tavor-21. The handguard, it's not the same, of course, but it has kind of that same look. And kind of the back. But the controls are more X95, namely the mag release. And, of course, our bolt release is back here. And we have very much an X95 style. Nice, comfy, hard rubber butt plate. At least it's checkered, but guys, rubber butt plate would have probably been nice. And another thing that I carried over from the X95 that I actually do like is it does have a modular grip trigger guard. So you can swap these out. That's one thing I do. Of course, the charging handle is a different shape from the X95. I do like that it has a kind of a release latch here. And it does have the kind of HK style hooky-doo. It's pretty shallow. Non-reciprocating, of course. You guys know these things. But you know me too. I'm thorough. Standard takedown pins. So yeah, even though it kind of looks like the traditional Tavor-21, including the overall size, the controls are almost all more X95, which is perfectly logical. I can't really make any huge complaints. It is pretty well ambidextrous. You can swap the charging handle around, so that's not what I would consider true ambi. It's reversible, and of course you have the ejection port. One thing I do like that they're doing now is you don't have to buy a left-hand bolt for the Tavors. You can literally just switch your cam pin and bolt head to the other side. So you can use the parts you've got here. It's not instant. It's not like on the Hellion or Beretta ARX100 where you could just do it like that. But a few minutes, little disassembly, you can get this to eject out the left side. So that's nice. Because, yeah, I would not want to shoot this offhand, and that would, at the very least, in addition to the concussion, would be very distracting, I think, having hot rounds coming out. But what do you think? J-Ro and I, not exactly were arguing, but I think he sees a little more utility in this than I do, and I appreciate that. But we're both in agreement. This would not be a necessarily fun gun to shoot. If it's your job, if it's what you're doing, if you have really nice protection, sure. But, you know, some 308 traditional guns I have, like the LMT, are actually just nice. They're gentle, nice triggers. This is much more of a workaday thing if you really need the compactness. And again, with my experience with the Kel-Tec earlier, I really was going to shoot this, and I thought, why? I just don't really want to. And it would just be turning a new gun into a used gun for no reason. Using up precious ammo, which I'd rather spend on FALs. Yeah, I'm good. You know, when they first came out with this, they had to make a few changes. I'm glad they took it back. And I think that's kind of a final point. And it's the same problem with the Carmel. And this is just a me thing. But there's no history. There's no military. There's no police. This is definitely, at least as of now, a civilian gun. And that's cool. It can be that. This, I don't know if it's really seeing much military use. If so, it's probably evaluation. It's certainly not widespread adoption anywhere. Not yet. Not as of recording this. So there's not really that I can sink my teeth into and go, well, don't necessarily like shooting it, but it's so historic, it needs to be in the collection. I want to be honest, that's the reason I still have the original Tavor-21. I like the looks of it, and I think it has an important place in history, and we waited so long to get a semi-automatic here. But when it comes time to shoot, I mostly shoot my X95. And I know if I did hang on to one of these, would shoot it once or twice, that'd be it. It'd just sit there. Because when I want to do 308s, I would pick other guns pretty much all the time.
Try another mag. Alrighty.
Clean.
Beer.
But that's me and my needs and my desires and my opinions. But that's why you're here. But feel free to disagree in the comments. Let's have a discussion. Again, Jared and I have been doing it throughout recording this video. So it's fair. It's fine. It's interesting to get other people's takes, other people's opinions. The bolt does charge very well. It of course has that wonderful Tavor kind of plasticky sound, but I don't know. I guess I'm used to it by now. Oh, and the safety, one thing to point out, it's a 45-degree throw versus full 90. And I guess that's nice. And it's a little more ergonomic. But yeah, table talk, there you go. But we do have a couple other 308s we have and will be shooting, so don't worry, we will be shooting 308s. But with ammo being what it is now, I want to reserve what I have for guns I really want to shoot. This is getting very hot now. I just put my hand on it, and good grief, it's boiling. It's not very hot out here, but direct sun, fantastic. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon. I'm starting to sweat, so we're gonna go in and grab a different gun. This is Misha. Catch you very soon, next time.